2011 to save money to go traveling for a couple of years.
Mm.
And then when I came back, I didn't have any money. And I was like, I need to do this again to save some money to set up my own business. So I went back out again in 2013, saved a load of money to do that.
Mm.
And then also I had that money in my bank to be able to
Wow.
spend it on
this
setting up a
on
business.
the silly
Yeah,
sausage.
yeah, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So you're
So it's quite an
basically
easy way to save money, but then you can only do that if you don't have a family or anything like that.
No, I understand, but that speaks a little to your determination. Correct me if I'm wrong, right? Because between the time that you conceived the idea, right,
Yeah.
and the time that you went to work and saved the money, I mean, 1,001 things could have happened. You could have blown the money. You could have felt like, you know what? Let me go back to Australia. Let me go back. Let me just travel the
Yeah.
world again, right? That's something fun,
I did spend
right?
a little bit traveling around India.
But you are quite dogged. Like you're quite, I'm going to do this, right? And you put that money, together, and then you
Yeah.
came back and you started this. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yeah. So I came back and then started. So I came back and started looking at buying a trailer, first of all.
Okay.
So this is a story in itself. So I came back from my travels. I was living with my brother, and my brother's quite practical. And I was like, right, I'm going to start this. I need to buy a trailer. I need to get this going. So we drove to Bristol one night and looked
Yeah.
at this caravan. Anyway, this caravan used to be owned by a company called Bagel Boys.
Yeah.
And they basically used to sell bagels from it. But they were like, oh, we don't know whether you should, use it for a business that's just starting up because it's quite an old caravan and all of this stuff.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, but it looks awesome. I think it looks really good. I can make this work. And so we ended up bringing the caravan home, and me and my brother set to work doing it up.
Mhm.
But it really wasn't the most expensive of caravans. It was like a couple of £100, and we started
Yeah.
doing it up. And then my brother went off to Australia to go and live there, and I was left with this kind of half-empty caravan. No, it was a disaster.
Sorry about that.
And it was he left me in the lurch. And then so I was like, right, I'll just have to pay someone else to do it, and then I can get this going. And then I had a friend help me move the caravan from one place to another. And on the way from moving it from one place to the other, the whole thing hadn't been fitted properly, and the chassis wasn't very good. It collapsed. And I looked in the wing mirror of my friend. It wasn't even a friend. It was a guy I'd paid who had a tow bar on the back of his car to
Yeah.
help me move it. I looked in the
Yeah.
background, and the whole thing had collapsed in a heap on the floor.
Wow.
I couldn't believe it. And I'd put thousands of pounds in, like at least £2,000 into this trailer. And we
Wow.
just kitted it out wrong. It was too heavy. I still blame my brother for this. It was too heavy. It fell apart.
You should get a
And at that
refund from
point,
him.
yeah. I was like, you still owe me money. So it fell apart and right there in front of my eyes. And so I didn't know what to do. I was laughing. My sister was like, what are you laughing at? This is a disaster. So we pulled over, like the guy that was helping me out pulled it to the side of the road, and he was like, look, I know somebody who can help you get rid of this. Like it was not salvageable. It was absolutely terrible. And so that day, and it wasn't insured because we were still working on it, and it was just a disaster. So there was no insurance there, which is another lesson to be learned. And so basically the whole thing just got tipped. So that was like a couple of grand, and like time, it was a few months time just trying to get it done slowly but surely, because my brother was fitting it in as and when he could, and it was just gone. So that night I went to work because I was working for my other brother in his gym, just doing like a couple of shifts just to get some money in. I sat on the reception desk and I was like, oh, this is the most depressing day ever. My dreams have gone up in smoke. And he had a personal training client called John, who was like a really successful entrepreneur. You need him on
Yeah.
it. He's great.
Yeah.
He came up to me and he went, the thing is, Shelley, are you going to let this stop you, or are you going to move on from this? Yeah. Are you going to keep going? And he gave me a bit of a pep talk. And to this day now, whenever he comes to the sausages, I always give him a free hot dog, because if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be here. And he gave me that talk, and I still remember it. And I'm like, we call him Arctic John because he travelled up to the Arctic doing some exhibitions and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So he said that. And so that night was the night I was like, right, I'm not going to let this stop me. So I bought the Gazebo online, got that ordered, and then from then on I was like, right, I've got to keep going with this, otherwise it's never going to happen. And so that's when I just bought the temporary structure and like
Oh, I
started with
see.
that. Yeah.
I see.
Yeah.
Now, there's so much to unpack from this single story you have shared, and I know that you've shared some of the stories in forums that I was part of before,
Yeah.
and I just want to call your attention back to some of the principles you articulated to people within that forum. Now, was it out of these that you came up with that if you buy it cheap,
Yeah.
you buy it
Cheap, you buy
twice?
twice. Yes. Yes, it was. Because we bought a really cheap rubbish trailer and then spent
Wow,
money doing up, and it was just not worth it. It was such a stupid
wow.
thing to do. Yeah, so that it
No,
was out of that story that I got that
you
principle.
bought it cheap. You buy it cheap, you buy it twice. That never
Yeah.
left me, right? Like
Yeah.
I will never forget because it just stuck, right? But,
Yeah.
but thinking about it now, Shirley, would you say that was a total waste or some kind of business school immersion for you, some kind of business lesson you paid for in an
Oh, it was a
indirect
really
way?
expensive, depressing business.
Business lesson, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I guess so. It was a lesson learned, definitely, because from then on I was just like, right. I did get another trailer to help me carry some stuff once, and that broke as well. But that wasn't necessarily. I think that was just a coincidence that that happened. Yeah, I do. I think if you're going to invest it and you want to do it seriously, and maybe like if you couldn't afford to go big straight away, then and if you're unsure of something, then maybe look at, if you wanted to do a catering business, for example, and you're not sure if it's something you want to do, um, or you're just trying it out, then go for the gazebo. But if you're really serious about it, make sure you just buy good quality stuff, because it's just not worth it otherwise. Because you're just going to end up I wasted like a few grand doing that, and I knew I really wanted to do it. So then that meant I had to get a gazebo, and that was really hard work compared to the trailer I've got now. I just hooked it up to the back of my car and I go. Whereas the gazebo for years and years, yeah. I was like, for 7 years, I was loading it into the back of my car, putting all the. So Friday nights were non-existent because I'd always just be loading stuff into my car. Brilliant. And then you get to the other side, you take it all back out again. And then at the end of the event, you have to you have to put it all away. And it was such hard work. So for 7 years, I was doing that before I got the trailer. So if you're going to do it and you're serious about it, just put the money in if you're able to. Yeah, or get the right investment.
Hmm. Like, there are a million and one questions popping in my mind, right, around these, and I will just try and pick them up one after the other, right? I guess the first is, if you had wanted to buy a proper trailer at that time, that
Yeah.
initial time, could you
Yeah.
could you afford it? Did you have the money to buy it if you wanted to at that
Um,
initial time?
yeah, I would have had at that point just because of the money I'd managed to raise from doing the yachting
Okay.
season. So I
Hmm.
would have had the money to have it then.
But you will
But
not have enough
obviously,
to kind of furnish it and to equip it with all that you.
yeah. But I also think I'm almost glad that it didn't happen straight away though, because I getting the trailer and spending more money in lockdown meant that I'd been doing it for so many years. I knew a lot
Yeah,
better
yeah.
how I needed things and how I needed the layout. And I've
Ah.
got different equipment now than what I had before. So
I
yeah,
told you. Told you. You just
yeah,
paid a very. It was a
maybe,
steep price to play. Sorry, it was a steep price to pay, but a lot of
yeah,
learnings came out of it, right? A lot
yeah,
of
yeah, yeah,
learnings.
yeah,
Mm.
yeah. I suppose it's a bit like a house. If you go in there and start doing stuff to it straight away, it's maybe
Without the
not
yeah.
necessarily what you want. And so now I've managed getting it later on has meant that I can have it the way I need it to be. Whereas at the beginning, I didn't have a clue what I needed.
Otherwise,
So
we'll have had to redo it, right? Even
yeah,
if everything worked, we'll have to redo it and pay money, just kind
yeah,
of reorganizing it to be fit for purpose, right?
yeah,
Coming
yeah.
out of experience. Now,
Mm.
the second question I want to ask around that event is, that pivot, right? I've never heard that one before, right? That pivot of, okay, yes, you wanted to start grand, right? That was intent. You wanted to start big with the trailer, with the caravan, and all of that, and it didn't
Yeah.
work out. And that motivation came from, what did you say, Arctic John, right?
Arctic John, yeah.
Arctic John, right? That motivation came.
I owe that man. He only gets a sausage every so often.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do. And then rather than, now you didn't get stuck saying, you know what, I'm going to go work another year, right? To raise another ton of money to go buy another truck. You just said, you know what, let's start with what we can start with now, right? And then you went for the Gazebo. And where did the old Gazebo idea come from? Did you feel like, oh, I'm starting small, I would have preferred to start bigger and all of that? Were you in any way slowed down by the fact that it wasn't as grand as you wanted it to be?
No, it was more just that's what I had to do to get the job done. So I wouldn't have been able to set up unless I got a gazebo. So I just thought, if I'm going to do this, I just need to start doing it this way, and then I'll go from there. And then if it's successful, then as it was, then I could then invest into the trailer and everything like that. So yeah, to get bigger. So it was it was more of a case of like, what do I need to do to get this done? Because I think from speaking to a few people that are looking to set up their businesses, they talk to me and they're like, right, I really want to do this, but what do I need to do? And I'm like, you just need to buy the equipment that you need to get it done. But I think people are often unsure of just taking that step and buying what they need in order to progress the business. And so it's just that's the jump you need to do. You just need to get the equipment, because you can't even register a business until like you've got the equipment that you need in order to, in catering.
In your space, yeah.
Yeah. You can't even because somebody from the council needs to come and see all the setup, check it's all hygienic and all of that stuff. So you can't even you can register a name, but you need somebody to come and inspect it in order to do that. So you just need to get so wired by Sarah's thinking. If you've got the money there to do it, go. I wouldn't get into debt or put it on credit to start. Personally, I'd make sure you've got the money there to lose, because you don't want to be getting into trouble with that type of thing.
But having proven the concept, right, and having tried it, are you comfortable getting into debt to scale it if that opportunity exists? Do you get what I mean? Like, now that you know the model, you know the operating model, you know how everything works. Right?
I wouldn't I personally wouldn't want to do that, because also different people in the catering world, you'll be doing different things. So you don't know what's going to be successful. I've got a friend, for example, who got the idea for myself. She does vegan food. Anyway, she has gone. She's getting so much more money than me. She's doing amazing, because loads of people are vegan these days. So she does vegan wedding catering. So she does that. Yeah. So she's doing it, but she left her teaching job. So I'm still a teacher. She left her teaching job to focus on that full time. She's done really, really incredible things. So yeah. So it depends. It depends what you do. I don't know whether I wouldn't want to say get into debt to do this, because if you're choosing a different food that's maybe not quite as popular. So the good thing about the sausages is that you don't get any food wastage whatsoever. So a lot of people in the catering business, they might spend like a Thursday or Friday, Saturday night cooking up the food to sell. Whereas I don't have to do any cooking at home or anything like that. I just have the food there, cook it and sell it. So I haven't really got any preparation work apart from making sure that everything's all stocked up. And then I buy the sausages fresh. So they, if they're not used, I can then freeze them and use them next time. Whereas other people, like I did an event, it was the second worst event I've ever done, actually, and it was a few weeks ago. And I was like, oh, it doesn't really matter if I haven't. It's annoying, I've lost my time, but it didn't really matter that I hadn't made money, because I wouldn't lose any stock. The only thing sometimes I might lose out on is the fresh bread rolls, because I use them fresh every time, but I just gave them to a food share company, so it wasn't wasted. But the guys next door to me, they had just loads and loads of fresh food, salad, tomatoes, and they were doing shawarmas, and they just lost it all. So
wow, what happened? So people didn't turn up or what?
I think it was quite badly
Publicized. Okay.
publicized, yeah, and there were too many food vendors, and normally I'm quite on it checking how many people there are, but for this one event I blame the baby brain that I hadn't checked it, and there were so many food vendors, and there were just too many food vendors for even a really, really busy event. So yeah, that was a bit down, a bit of a rubbish one, but it was just my time that was wasted more than money.
I see.
Yeah.
Hey, thanks a lot for taking the time to watch the podcast. We are super thankful for you taking that time and investing the time to learn. We hope that you find the story inspiring, and beyond that, that you've been able to articulate one or two things that you want to do differently in your own entrepreneurial journey. May I encourage you to please like, subscribe, comment, and please share the word within your own circle of influence, especially within those that you think are on the same entrepreneurial journey with you. May I also encourage you to please, beyond subscribing to our YouTube channel, follow us on our other social media platforms. That means a lot to us, and we can see that that helps us to track that we're making some progress and so making some impact. Thanks a lot once again for taking the time to watch, and to see you on the next episode.